Hey, welcome to the Tim and Gugabe podcast. This is your host, Tim Gugabe. How you doing?
Yeah, ticking along. How are you, Tim?
Not bad. Sorry, we've only missed one pod all year, and that was because of me last week. I was really sick. Like it was only like it only lasted for a couple of days, but I was like in bad shape. I didn't even I almost didn't I didn't watch some of the fights Saturday, and then I kind of started feeling a little better Saturday night. But do you want to we didn't get to recap. We'll recap a few fights from the last 2 weeks, and then we'll go jump into the main card per usual. If anyone has any comments or questions or whatever, just stick them in the chat. And yeah, all right, dude, that Merab fight we didn't get to talk about. Like who beats him like in 5 rounds like that?
Um,
I thought there was a chance he could like win. I did not like the matchup for him. I picked Jan. I was semi-confident in Jan, but it was probably the most wrong I've been on just like a fight as far as even when I get fights wrong, I'm like, oh well, like I could have seen that happening for sure. We're like, I didn't think Merab would do that. Like none of the rounds were close. He was better on the feet even, and he just beat the fuck out of Jan. Like I kind of expected it to be Merab would shoot for 30, 40 takedowns and probably not get more than 5 minutes of control. Would compete a little better on the feet than people thought, but I thought Jan would take over. And then, I mean, he just got the shit kicked out of him, pillar to post. What do you think?
I was pretty much fading Jan's decision. Like that was my kind of angle. I just saw it as like if Jan is going to cover minus 250, he's probably going to have to kill Merab just because of what Merab is. Like you don't go 25 minutes to Merab and win a clear decision. I just don't think that's possible. So I had about 2 units of Merab and about 1.5 units of inside TD or like Jan KO kind of stuff. So like again, I just thought Merab was live to take a scrappy split decision. Did I say Merab looking minus 500? No, but like I just generally think Merab is better than plus 200 against everybody. Like he just is.
Yeah, and honest, like I'm not joking. Where like I tweeted out after, I think it was the single best performance I've ever seen in 5 rounds as far as like because like it was so unfluke. Like we've seen performances where like someone gets like a good finish and it's fun, or they're winning for a round or two and then get a finish. Merab, like it was fluke proof. He beat the fuck out of him for 25 minutes. Like a good striker, dominated him on the feet, and then he attempted 49 takedowns, which is an actual record. So I don't think like me saying it's the best performance ever is like an exaggeration. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen. And especially from a cardio, like everything's predicated on his cardio. So it's like, I get he's not the most skillful fighter in every area, but he still has skills and he has like maybe best gas tank ever in MMA.
Like I've definitely got top 5 performances, like Holloway Aldo kind of shit, or like Volkanovski. I honestly love to see Volkanovski Merab. I just think that would just be fascinating.
It would be amazing. There's not many people I would pick to beat Merab. I could not. I was just like, what the fuck when I was and it was right away. Like even after round 1, I was like, this is not going to go well for Jan.
You could just see Jan's face. He was just like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like he was panicking.
No, you can tell Jan was like actually confused. Like it wasn't even like he was scared. He was like, what the fuck is happening here? Yeah.
Like, how is this a thing? Like, Jan panic wrestles ended the round 1, and I'm just like, he's gone, he's done. Like, he's tired because he was throwing fucking haymakers the entire time because he was just like, I've got to kill this man to get him off me somehow, and just like
it wasn't like Merab was just landing like little kind of scoring volume. Like he was actually beating his ass too. Like yeah.
I thought I was about to get the middle. I had Jan.
Yeah, if people who like buy my breakdowns, like I've talked about Merab, like I always have a paragraph in there basically about how his striking is underrated and he never gets hit to the head. Like his head strike metric ratios are like him and O'Malley are the best in the division. And so I was like, but I still was like, he hasn't fought really good strikers and he always gets to mix in the wrestling. And I thought he would get shut down here, so it just wouldn't work. But like, that's why numbers like do matter at times, you know, like he just dominated and he's hard to hit. He's like really disruptive, you know, just because the takedowns and even on the feet, just the way he kind of like feints in and out, and he's just like never a stationary target. He's always moving. He's a motherfucker, dude. But I mean, we don't have to talk about it anymore. But Usman and Edwards, on this card, I bet Calderwood. It was my only bet on the card. I would say it was kind of like line was probably about right. Like I thought she won. Didn't think it was a split, but I wouldn't go rush out to play like the minus 170 I played. I probably around that I would say her line was. But Edwards Usman, I passed on Usman because like I historically, if you follow me, love Usman. I think he's a great fighter. I was just worried about like a knockout like that. I was more worried that like it would impact his durability type of thing. So I was like, I don't want to fuck with it. It's minus 250. I'm not going to take a risk on something like that where I really don't know how he's going to look. But I thought he looked worse than usual. Like he looked declined. And just like comparing the performances, I don't want to like discredit Leon. I thought Leon fought really well. Like as far as his game plan, he threw 53 leg kicks this time, and he never threw that many in the previous fight. So, like, he also was just very aware not to get stuck up against the cage, and his takedown defense you could tell he was drilling a lot. So he did a good job, but I also do think Usman looked declined. Like, I think if you don't think that I mean, you saw it too. He was even kind of like he wasn't pushing a pace even like he usually does, and he wasn't moving as well, but there are apparently injury rumors. Maybe that played a factor, but I don't want to like discredit Leon. I think it was like a mix of both. I thought Usman didn't look as good as usual, and I thought Leon fought really well. What did you think?
To be honest, the card started at 3 a.m. local time, and it was finishing at like 11 a.m. local time. So I pulled an all-nighter. So by this point, I was completely faced off. Like, I just like Usman just looked shit. Like he just looked super flat. And like even look at even like being 30% Usman, he's still like Edwards looked good. Don't get me wrong, but like Usman was still within margins to take that fight when he looked like a complete fucking corpse because that's the dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, how did you score it? I thought Leon won. Like I
agree, but
I saw some people scoring for Usman. I was like, I thought Leon won about. I think I gave it 4 rounds to 1. I think there was a round in there, either 2 or 3. I gave to Usman. It was
still. I feel like if Usman rocked up 10% close to what he normally is, he could have won that fight still. Like that's just how the skull dynamic is.
Like another takedown or two at the end of a round, like all of a sudden it's a fucking split decision draw type of thing, So it was very. It's kind of weird how that point deduction almost helped Leon in a way because he was losing that round. He was getting grounded, and then he came back and won the round, in my opinion, and kind of made it 9-9 instead of him getting beaten 10-9. So. But he might have gotten up anyway. You never know. Like he might have just gotten back up from the feet like he did a couple other times. But it was still that just does go to show like Usman in his prime was very good because he looked bad and he still was competitive. But I thought Leon won. Like people who scored it for Usman, I was like, just stop. Like Leon won that fight.
I agree. I had my biggest money line bet of the year on Todorovic. That was funny.
Oh, I didn't watch that live, but then I ended up rewatching it. I didn't watch like some of the prelims live, then I rewatched him. But he
Duncan didn't look awful, but like what the fuck?
Knee injury. I did think he was losing until that point, but it was also like nothing really happened,
I agree. It's not like Todorovic was like fucking 10-7ing him and they got blown up. But
correct.
The way Todorovic fights, when Todorovic does get on top, he tends to just kind of gas pedal you from there kind of a situation.
Yeah,
I agree with Marcus. Like Usman and Edwards both.
I did not think Edwards looked good either. I thought like Edwards looked really good compared to previous fights with Usman, but like I wasn't impressed by either guy. Like I think I kind of tweeted that out. I didn't think either of them looked great. And I was like shocked with Usman, and it was kind of right away. Like after like the second round, I'm like, I don't know if he's winning because he became a big favorite because of the point deduction, like minus like 300 at one point. And I didn't play anything live, but I remember being like, Usman does not look like Usman. Like Leon might be able to just like keep this up, but yeah, I did not think either of them looked good. I think Rachmanov probably fucks them both up.
I think.
Yeah.
Even like Bilal or some shit, honestly, at this point. I just feel like both the Usman Edwards fights we've gotten lately, they're just both kind of underwhelmed me. Like
I would pick them both over Bilal pretty handily. Like
I still think they're both kind of going.
Speaking of that, like I I know everyone's on the like Bilal meritocracy title shot argument, but like, dude, it's like beating Sean Brady's not very good.
It's welterweight.
Yeah, I know, but like, I'm just saying, like, Bilal kind of had a few. Like, if you want to give it to him, I think it's totally fine. I just don't think it's like insane not to give it to him, and like, I don't think any of them really are. I don't think anyone stands out. Like, people are like, oh, Bilal stands out above all. I'm like, I don't know. Like, even Rachmanov's run might be as good as Bilal's, you know? And like, and it's also tough. Like, you do need to factor in Bilal looked pretty awful against Edwards until that eye poke. He was like, Edwards was minus 1,500 live. And like, that would have been tough. Like, Bilal would have either needed to finish, which I doubt he finishes Edwards, or he would have had to win 3 straight rounds. Like, he was about to be down 2 rounds. And like, you do need to factor that in. Like, Colby's fights with Usman were more impressive than Bilal's fight with Leon. Like, do I think Colby like deserves a shot? No, but I don't think like any of them stand out. So just go with the guy who will make most money. And like, yeah, it just is what it is. I don't know. But I haven't read any of these. How is it? Who's he talking about?
I don't know.
Usman, probably. Yeah, round 3 and late. Yeah. Yeah, no, and Usman, I agree with this. Like, his wrestling just didn't look as strong. Like, he looked like he lost an athletic gear too. Like,
look, Usman has always been kind of bad at MMA, but like he usually has that kind of A+ physicality to just kind of show up a lot of holes. And now he looks like a B+ athlete now. And it's just like you just see how his game is not functional when he doesn't have insane physical advantage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was talking about Usman. That's what I thought. Yeah, like no, I agree with him. It was like Usman did not look as good as usual. But let's go into. Oh, do you want to talk Gaethje Fiziev? I also saw like I thought Gaethje won that fight too. Like I don't know. Vera Sandhagen. Like we'll just get into the main event. Great main event. You know, I've always liked Sandhagen. I've always like Vera's one of these weird guys because everyone knows I'm obsessed with numbers and everything, and a lot of other people who are also obsessed with numbers have always faded Vera. But the 2 factors where people always outperform their metrics are when they're good finishers and they have A+ durability and cardio. And like Vera has that. Like he's been outlanded in his last 3 fights, like collectively very badly, but he's also 7-0 in knockdowns, you know, and he's lost the takedown battle as well, but he has A+ cardio and durability, and he has an incredible chin. And like, so he's one to outperform his metrics. So like, I've generally picked him to win. Like I picked him versus Font. I think I picked him versus some of his other fights. Cruz, I did pick Cruz to upset him, and that was a close fight. And until he like Cruz was up, and then Vera got the finish. But Vera's just like a guy who's going to outperform his metrics because even though he absorbs more strikes than he lands, he's goofy because he has a lot of finishing. He's tough as fuck and A+ cardio. I do worry about him going against guys like Sandhagen who have cardio because I do think Vera like thrives when he can gas people out and make him defenseless. That's why Cruz made him struggle for a while, but Cruz doesn't have the best durability, so Vera ended up taking him away. Sandhagen is durable, but I do think Vera has the durability edge and it's probably more likely to hurt Sandhagen here. Gun to my head, I'd probably pick Sandhagen to win just because he does have better striking metrics and he has the cardio to not like be a corpse at the end. But I'm still nervous. Like I think Vera could hurt him, and I do think Vera, like Sandhagen at times slowed down against Jan. I could see Vera still slowing him down. And even against Dillashaw at the end of their fight with Sandhagen, he kind of wilted a little bit. I think it's going to be like a competitive fight, and I wouldn't play Sandhagen to his line. I think I'm going to pick him to win, but it's interesting. It's a great fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of broadly agree. Like Sandhagen also, he can go for takedowns. He shot for 20 odd against Song, who I think is a far better defensive grappler than Vera. So like, Sandhagen has shown actual fight IQ. So like maybe he just comes out and does the obviously blatantly obvious thing to beat Vera. He does say, he seems like reasonably intelligent for what he is. I feel like it's also like Yeah, Vera is very durable, do not get me wrong, but I feel like people acting like it's impossible that Sandhagen knocks him out is kind of stupid. Like,
Agreed.
Sandhagen hits very hard.
Sandhagen
And the
is
flying knees, head
underrated
kicks,
hitter.
that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Look, you know, it's like he lands like flying knees and head kicks and that kind of shit. And like, surely you can't just be like, I'm going to take 15 naked head kicks. Like, yeah, Vera is durable.
I wouldn't pick it to happen, but it is a slice of the pie for sure. Like, definitely.
I hear people acting like Vera no scorecards in this situation should be like minus 1,000. It's like minus 200 for Vera no scorecards, maybe. But like, yeah, Sandhagen also lands elbows, he lands flying knees, he lands head kicks.
It's also like, very tough, like very tough. Yeah.
And like, yeah, I also think that Vera is kind of a certain amount where it's just like people sometimes get wrapped up in these finishes where it's like Vera could still be losing to top 30 featherweights pretty easily. Like, just how it is what it is. Like, he's kind of on this magical run lately. And, like, there's been a bunch of volatility around it. Like, Edgar could have very well beaten them. Cruz could have very well beaten them. Just slightly different sequencing. I do like how his grappling
even the font fight was weird because Vera literally, like, almost finished him in 3 rounds at the end. And he was down in a couple of those rounds. Like, you know, so, like, I still picked him to win that fight. But, like, yeah, but it is a thing, though. Like, Vera does consistently hurt people more than they hurt him. So, like, I mean, I definitely think that will be a trend, but will it be that big of a ratio against a fighter like Sandhagen? I don't know, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it'll be a great fight. I'm not hugely interested from a betting point of view. The under honestly does tempt me a little bit because, like, yeah, again, it'll be like hundreds of strikes landed. They're both nukers. They both land like all sorts of head kicks and kind of unconventional shit. And, like, inevitably be 600 significant strikes landed. Both guys' faces falling off. The doctors and the doctor and the ref.
140. Yeah, I mean, I could see, like, yeah, they're pretty aggressive. Like, well, Sandhagen will evade a little bit, but eventually I do think Vera will come for him. You know?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there'll be a situation here where, I'd be surprised if this was less than 400 significant strikes landed kind of situation.
Yeah. A lot of strikes are going to land. And just, like, from a submission grappling point of view, like, they're both pretty opportunistic. Something could happen there too.
Yeah.
I think Vera has a better chance than people are giving him, though. Like, I still worry about him because if he can't gas people, it makes it a little weird. But he's even Cruz slowed down a little bit in their fight, you know, just a little bit, like not a ton, but a little bit. And I still think Vera could slow him down. I just don't think it won't be like Davey Grant round 3 where he's like a corpse. Like, I don't think Sandhagen will be a corpse at any point, but I do think he could just slow down a little bit, which could make it interesting. It's a great fight, though. Moving on to Holm and Kunitzkaya. I got in on Holm at minus 210 to 220. I don't know if you're going to, like, agree with this. She's minus 265 now. I think at that point it's a pass, but I do think she's just better everywhere. She's better at distance. She's better in the clinch where they both clinch up. I think she's stronger. She defends takedowns at 78%, while Kunitzkaya defends them at 50%. Holm is an underrated takedown artist, in my opinion. Like, she landed 6 on Aldana, and she uses that upper body, and these girls both go to the upper body. I think she'll turn them into takedowns. She went for 6 against Vera, but Vera is very hard to take down, and she almost got it a couple times.
Yeah.
I think she will. I think she can land takedowns here. I think she's better at range. She's also much more likely to win inside the distance, like, just because Yana is a bit fragile. Like, we've seen her knocked out a couple times. I do think if they stand at range and Holm just isn't busy enough and Yana's landing worthless shit, I do think Yana could make it close and win a decision. But I just feel like Holm is better at everything. And I also just think, like, Yana, the way she darts in, like, against Aldana, that's when Holm really kind of fucks you up. Like, remember Aldana was just charging in and Holm beat the shit out of her? Like, I feel like Holm does best when you make her counter, almost like a Wonder Boy. Like, if you come after him, he will like fuck you up. And I feel like that is kind of at play here too. So I like Holm here. Like, I'm glad I got in on her early, but, like, I wouldn't be dropping minus 270 either, like, which is what she's at now. I think capping her around 7 out of 10 is fair. What do you think?
41. Look shit against Ketlin. Like, yeah, she still clearly beat Ketlin. Like, that was
I didn't think she looked like shit versus Ketlin. I just I think it was a fight where it uniquely was a tough style matchup where Yana isn't, like, she couldn't get her little takedowns she could always get on Aldana because Ketlin's hard to take down. Where, like, Kunitzkaya isn't, and, like, Ketlin's also a kind of dangerous boxer. Like, she, like, understands range well. Kunitzkaya is, like, not. She's not like a finesse boxer. Like, she just can't. kind of spams volume. I don't think that's going to work on Holm. I don't know. And like the head strike metrics of Vera are pretty good. We're like, yeah.
My concern, she's 41 years old. She's been around forever.
That's fair.
It's just like, I personally don't want to play Juice until he's 41 years old because it's like, at a certain point, the chunk of the pie, which becomes massive age-related drop-off, just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's just like, I agree. Like if Holm rocks up like Holm does, like she should be a massive favorite because she has quite a low volatility style and all that. I agree. Yeah. I feel like there's also a 10 to 15% chance that just Holm just looks fucking awful, and I'm just gonna be like, I would just feel bad.
I think if you get if you get the Holm that we're used to, I think she honestly will look like 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5 here. So that's what I think. I'm willing to bet she looks like fine. Like I don't think she's going to be a massive decline, just because like she looked. Honestly, the Aldana fight was like an all-time performance for her. It was an incredible performance, I thought. And then her last fight versus Vera, I thought she looked fine. I just thought it was a fight where she couldn't easily dominate in the clinch and she couldn't easily get takedowns, which she dominates more when she can do that. And I think she can land takedowns here. Like Kunitzkaya defends at 50. And I also just think Kunitzkaya isn't going to take punches as well as Ketlin. Like Ketlin can defend herself in boxing range. Like Kunitzkaya is goofy, but I do think the age-related concern is fair. But I'm willing to take the risk because again, it was like minus 210. It wasn't minus 300-400, whatever. Landwehr and Lingo. I'll let you go with this one. I haven't looked into it. I mean, I obviously know both guys. It'll be a fun fight. What do you think?
Lingo will compete for 5 minutes. Probably gets knocked down. Landwehr will motivate him eventually. Will just gas pedal him eventually. I think Landwehr sub at plus 1,900 is a huge price. Lingo's grappling is defensive grappling is really not great. And Lingo will have some fun. Will have a good fight around one of them, but he's kind of just mid. He's just really mediocre kind of heavyweight, and I'm sure he'll get knocked down or some shit. If I can get Landwehr evens or something going to round 2, I'll take it. Otherwise, late Landwehr finish brutally should be the case. ITD here, actually, I took some under 2.5 at minus 125 when it dropped because I was just I just think Landwehr is generally a guy I want to take unders on, and Lingo has somehow gone a distance a bunch in the UFC, despite the fact you watch his fight is all fucking carnage. He's had 15 near finishes in 5 fights, and it's like Max Griffin's peak, where he just had this 6 decision streak of just 20 finishes. There's these times everything would happen in a Max Griffin fight, to make it not a finish. I think he had 4 finishes saved by the bell kind of situations.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
It'll be a fun fight. Yeah. I don't have strong opinions on it. I kind of I get why Landwehr's a favorite, but I don't like high he's been knocked out before, and I don't like high volatility striking fights. I don't.
Herbert Burns hilariously.
Oh my God. People were bragging. I picked Landwehr to win that fight. People made fun of me. I didn't bet it. People made fun of me and were bragging about Burns minus 140 or whatever the fuck it was. And that might be he might be plus 800 in hindsight.
I mean, I think he could, it's definitely, if Burns had gotten the original sub attempt thing he had, I would have been a lot more all right, fair enough, that was his win condition. But Burns by fucking blind clinch knee knockout was one of the most stupid fucking outcomes ever. Burns wasn't even, if you look at the replay, Burns isn't even looking. Burns is just and just high rolls it.
He's
absurd.
I mean, Burns isn't very good at fighting. He's a finish. He's not even a finish round 1. He's a finish first 2 minutes or bust fighter. And if you put any adversity on him, he quits. Okay. Let's talk about Barber and Lee. I think the line's a little too wide. I picked Barber to win. I've generally liked Barber. There was a period where people started not liking Barber and now they like her again. And I always kind of still liked her. But I do worry about her in 2 areas. When she gets put on her back, she has trouble getting up. Jessica I got her down. That Roxanne fight was weird because she got injured, but even pre-injury, she got taken down. We saw Mallory Martin and LFA take her down. So I always worry about that. But I do think she's competent enough defensively as a grappler where she'll be okay. But I do think good grapplers will take advantage of her there. And then at range, she's really good in the clinch. She's one of the best clinch fighters in that division. And her cardio and physicality is absurd. her versus Grasso in a 5-rounder, she had Grasso, in my opinion. Like, she was beating her up in round 3, and I think she would probably beat Grasso in 5. But her at range kind of concerns me. Like, Maverick outlanded her at range. I thought Maverick won that fight, and I could see Lee being better at range. And like, I don't think Lee's a good enough wrestler to where she'll like land takedowns easily or anything. But if she happened to get top position, she could hold position. So I could see an upset here. I did pick Barber because I think she's better in the clinch. She's more physical. She's a cardio freak too. Like she's like, has she lost a 3rd round in the UFC? I don't even know. Except Roxanne, which she was hurt. But she still can compete at range. She might even be better at range. I just do think she's less good there than in close quarters. And then like Andrea Lee's metrics are good. Like she lands like over 5, absorbs less than 4. Like they're pretty good. And yeah, maybe Barber could probably get top position herself here, but she doesn't always do that. I probably favor on physicality, youth, yada yada yada. But don't you think like I'm not laying here? Yeah.
I agree. It's just like Barber. If it was a player, if I had a video game control Barber, I could cover -1000 here just because like I could ensure she was going to go forward and push her advantages and wrestle and yada. Yeah. But Barber has shown enough tendency to be a complete idiot. That's just like
that Maverick fight was bad. It's like I feel like that could happen versus any decent range striker. You know,
even Grasso was similar. So Maverick and Grasso, it's like all right, she spends 2 rounds at range doing fuck all. Then in round 3, she just goes, oh fuck, it's time to actually do shit, and absolutely and fucking bosses her.
Yeah, and it was better. Yeah.
Like I believe Grasso and Maverick. If Barber would just come out minute 1 going, fuck it, I'm going to go forward, she probably wins those fights. Like, she looks dominant. It wasn't even like Maverick or Grasso slowed down. So just like Barber was just a physical fucking specimen.
Yeah. In round 3, she just started dominating it. I was like, where was this before? It wasn't like they were like gassed. Like you said, it was like she kind of just pushed the initiative a little bit.
Man, they did gas, but they gassed because Barber is such a fucking horse. Like,
and start coming after. She'll be better in 5-round fights. Like I do think if she gets there where she can like consistently main event or be in title fights, like she'll be tough to deal with. She's still not a good enough defensive wrestler. Like girls like Suarez and Blanchfield, they're going to give her a lot of issues. Like I don't see her beating them.
Suarez almost just lost the DLR, so that's she looked awful.
But De La Rosa knows how to get back up. Like when she gets taken down. Barber, you get 1 takedown and it's like she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. She literally doesn't know how to get up. I honestly, hot take. De La Rosa is a tougher matchup like than a lot of the girls in the top 15 versus Suarez sneakily. Like there's a lot of girls in the top 15 I would pick to smash De La Rosa, but I think like Suarez would light them up easier because like De La Rosa comes from a grappling background and she can get up and like and I thought Suarez's performance in that fight was a lot better than other people.
She was about to lose, but yeah, she technically she's still there, but she isn't the physical specimen she was at 115. Compared to as far as a fight,
and like, I mean, De La Rosa is like pretty big, you know, and like you could see it in that fight, and I do think like Suarez needs to go back down, but I still thought she looked good in that fight. Like she looked fine. It was just she didn't have the physical advantages, and she was facing a girl who like is hard to grapple. Yeah. Like,
I agree with De La Rosa as well. The harder women in the division to grapple, but I feel like if Suarez hadn't hit that guillotine, if Suarez jumps that guillotine and doesn't get it, that fight would have suddenly been a lot more interesting.
It could have been interesting. I still think like Suarez was still up pretty big. I mean, she dominated round 1.
Not in the second round, bro. Like, I was like, hypothetically, she jumps the guillotine, doesn't get a guillotine, ends up underneath.
I would have still picked Suarez to win the fight. Like, you know.
Oh yeah, she was -200. Like, don't get me wrong. Suarez is definitely -200 in the rerun, but she wasn't like -5 billion like people were acting like she was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she looked fine. Like, I just thought it was like a sneaky harder matchup than people realized, but like I'll be on Suarez over Zhang if they fight.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just going to tell people right now, like, I think she's going to take her to school on the mat.
DLR versus Zhang would be a funny fight. I just think that would actually be
people are going to give us a lot of shit for saying that, but I like
DLR. She's good. Like, she doesn't have the She's a C+ athlete. The fucks her, but like,
there's such an obvious wrestling hole with Zhang, but it's frustrating because not enough girls can wrestle to expose it. Esparza fucking got caught with a rear naked choke in a Peterson, and people don't like. People were bragging about the finish. I'm like, you realize like she lost the scramble. Like I can't even talk about that fight because like people were like dominance. I'm like, Esparza let her up in round 1. And then in round 2, she won the scramble with the Peterson, and then she got a rear naked choke off like a soft submission in a position. Like, I've never even seen really. It was kind of like a reverse crucifix from the Peterson, but like that doesn't happen in good jiu-jitsu or like. Oh, I can't even talk about that fucking fight. Yeah. But I'm kind of glad it happened because she's going to be favored over Suarez, and I think Suarez is going to fucking murk her on the mat like badly. Yeah, so we'll see. That is my most anticipated women's fight that can be made. Suarez and Zhang. I want it bad, and I'm betting Suarez. I'm betting the fucking house on Suarez in that fight. Makes anyway, sense. I will. All right, what were we even talking about? What fight were we talking about? Barber and we got really sidetracked. Okay, Perez and Kopp.
Perez all day, right? Like, come on, like the Kopp being -200 here is absurd. Like, I understand Perez gets finished occasionally, but like Perez has the minute advantage, stride standing, has a massive grappling advantage, doesn't tend to get knocked out, like apart from Joseph Benavidez headbutting him. Like, I just do not get this price. Like, Perez could
that's an interesting part because I always worry about Perez because he randomly gets finished, but it's mostly with subs, and we haven't really seen Kopp get subs. He actually almost had a Kimura on Dvorak. Like
that Dvorak for Kimura was
dude.
Ridiculous.
How funny would it be if Perez was winning, got a takedown, and got Kimura? It's like, I mean, it could happen. Like
also the Dvorak fight. Like, in my opinion, Dvorak could look like the favorite there. Like, yeah, he got Kimura and then he lost his arm.
But I do think the fight was closer than people think because I rewatched it.
He won round 1 pretty steadily. Then he gets a takedown. Again, if he doesn't get Kimura, he probably takes round 1. Yeah, but then his arm was broken, and then he had one arm for the rest of the fight.
In round 3 too.
With one arm, like for the rest of that fight, Dvorak was digging out a pretty massive hole. If his arm was broken, like Kopp didn't dominate him on the feet with a broken arm. So like, I just feel like logically, like Dvorak Kopp probably competitive striking fight. Dvorak has all the grappling upside if he doesn't get Kimura.
The Perez fight, I think, like at range, it's weird with Perez because like he hasn't actually beaten good strikers. Like I do think he has like calf kicks in his game.
It's Kopp though.
What's up?
Kopp's not a good striker though. He doesn't do shit.
Kopp's better. Kopp would be a step up from the other people he's been beating on the feet. Like you have to say that for sure. And I do think Kopp like is dangerous. Like he's very dangerous. Like let's be real. So I'd probably favor Kopp standing just like based on what we know, but I'm not positive like about that. And Perez has calf kicks, but I would have to probably favor Kopp. But like his takedown defense, I didn't like the way he got taken down by Dvorak in round 1. I'm kind of like, fuck, Perez might be able to land takedowns here. And Perez is like the best wrestler he's faced easily. Like without a doubt.
Best in the division now.
He's a good wrestler for sure. Very good. But I still like. I feel like Perez has to stay safe for 15 minutes, and I'm not sure he will. So it kind of makes me nervous. But like, it's also a fight. If Kopp doesn't finish him or hurt him, he's probably losing the fight. And I don't like relying on the big moments. You know.
Particularly at flyweight.
I pick Kopp to win, but like no interest at -180. We saw him just stare at Pantoja and give up like striking rounds. Pantoja's dangerous, though, like a good skilled striker, and like Kopp's look better in other areas, but
but Perez just outlanded Pantoja pretty handily when he had striking. Like again, like I think Perez is the better striker than Pantoja.
But Perez is weird because we haven't we'll see him in striking for like a minute or two. We don't see it for like extended. And a minute or two pocket striking is different than extended striking. It just is. Sure. Like you'll see Alexander Hernandez is a really good example. He'll be good in like pockets, but in extended striking fights, he fucking gets hit a lot. He wilts, like he can give up. It's way different. Or like I've seen Perez in a lot of pocket striking fights, just real moments, not extended striking fights. Since I don't really know what to expect if he stands for 15 minutes with Kopp, I don't really know what to expect. But I do know that Kopp is dangerous, but he only lands like 50, 60 strikes in a fight. So he better hurt him. And he might, like, probably. The Benavidez fight was kind of weird. That was the only time he's been like, knocked out. But, like,
whatever.
Yeah. I picked Kopp by knockout, but I'm very nervous about it. And I'm not going to bet that fight. Is there anything on the prelims you want to talk
about? I think Chidi versus Duraev's main card, but like that fight's kind of stupid, so I don't care.
Oh, yeah. I know both guys. I haven't looked into it. I mean, striker versus grappler. I have to look into Chidi's takedown defense. I remember his first layer being all right, but like,
yeah, he's good. He gets tired though.
What's up?
Chidi's takedown defense is good. He just gets tired and he wilts when he's put on his back.
And then Duraev got tired versus Buckley, right?
Yeah, like if Duraev gets on top of him, he could probably win. But like, I think Chidi favorite makes about sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Giles Parsons. That's funny.
Yeah, I want to look into that one too. Peterson and Alexander will be a good fight. Like that will be fun.
Ogden Torres will be funny. Like most of these prelim fights will be fun, but they're just kind of stupid.
Well, Torres is hilarious because I remember I taped that today, and it was like
he was slowing the fuck down when he knocked out Camacho.
I like to read my write-ups on people like before, like, so I read my write-up on that fight, and I was like, I literally don't even know what Torres does because like all his fights have ended in like a round, and it's like generally they've been him getting submissions too, like random, and I was like, I don't even know what to describe his skill set as, and so I was like, I don't really know, but everyone was playing Camacho, and I was like, I don't know, like I have no idea what the line should be. And then he just went out there and just like kind of big brothered him and just threw everything in every strike. The Ogden fight will be funny. I still get nervous. Like Ogden getting outlanded at range, doubled up by Jordan Levitt is a little scary. But yeah, man, like I don't know. I have nothing else. We'll keep it short and sweet this time. What's the next card?
This next card.
Is it the Izzy fight?
It is. Yeah, Pereira and Sanya. That's a decent fight on that.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling Perez is going to knock him out again.
Yeah, magical powers.
Like no hardcore analysis, and I'm not going to hardcore analyze or research that fight because like we kind of know what it is. But I just have a feeling Perez is going to knock him out again.
Oh shit, we got Chiesa versus Leach, and we got Barnett versus Sherman on the undercard. What more do we want? Chiesa versus Leach is going to be hilarious. I just have this feeling it's just going to be a very, very, very stupid fight. Like, Chiesa should win, but I just feel like he's going to make it as hard as possible.
Yeah, I'm like looking at him now. Calvillo and Godinez will be funny. What's the line for that? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. I think like Godinez like minus 300 or some shit, which feels a little bit off, but also Calvillo just seems. I think she's a big favorite, but like that seems kind of off. But also, Calvillo seems to be.
I would pick Calvillo straight in that matchup.
Yeah, 2 years ago, definitely. But like, she just feels like she's just kind of
isn't going to out grapple her, and then like,
yeah, true.
Yeah, dude, I picked Hill as a big underdog over Godinez, and like, she dominated her. Like, Calvillo might be a better striker too, and like Calvillo's not a good striker, but like Godinez is not at all.
Yeah.
And I think Calvillo is a better grappler than her.
Yeah.
Like pretty clearly.
I agree. But she just seems to be in this weird mental
I thought it was going to be like Godinez minus 150.
Double checked. I'm pretty sure Godinez was like some massive favorite or something.
That's really
best fight odds down anyway.
I always kind of like. I generally get Godinez fights like pretty well.
I did find that the Hill fight was a little bit weird.
For Calvillo, that is really dumb.
I feel like the Hill fight was a bit weird. Like, Godinez, I feel like Godinez could have done more to wrestle to, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Hill was better or anything like that, but I feel like Godinez kind of gave Hill the best possible outcome. It's like some of these fights where it's like, remember like Allen versus, what's his name, a couple of weeks ago? Shitty Brazilian grappler.
Muniz.
Yeah, like Muniz kind of gave Allen the absolute best permutation of that fight. Like, I think Muniz sucks, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But sometimes
Muniz
also
not very good. Yeah, but he like struck. Like
he went for like one takedown for round one.
Yeah.
Like if Muniz had gone for 5 takedowns, like at least he would have given himself his shot inside his round kind of a thing. Was like, Allen was probably the side, but also Muniz compounded it by doing the dumbest possible thing.
Yeah. I feel like Calvillo is getting disrespected massively there. She has fought very tough style matchups, and like Chokagian, Lupi Godinez is not Caitlin Chokagian or Jessica Andrade. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? That line is insane. Imagine if that fight was made like 2 years ago. It would the line
would have been,
and then like I don't think their skill sets are any different. I just think like Calvillo's fighting a bunch of killers and who she can't beat. Godinez is fighting like bad fighters who she's beating, and then she's losing to like the girl fucking lost to Jessica Penne. Like, got her back taken a couple times. Like, I'll pick Calvillo right there.
Remember when Calvillo was minus 200 against Esparza? Like, it's funny how hard the market has pivoted on Calvillo. Yeah. Like, she was like, like this.
Yeah. And then she's been weird because at that time, she's been all over as far as like lines go. Because I remember then she fought Baltelio and was plus like 150 because she lost to Esparza. And then I played her in that fight. Everyone was on Baltelio, and Calvillo just took her back and subbed her in like a minute.
Yeah.
I think people forget how good of a grappler Calvillo actually is. Like, and if Lupi Godinez cannot grapple you for 15 minutes, she's not minus 300 versus anyone. And I don't think she can do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But okay, that's everything. We will talk about that card next, and I mean, I'll look into that fight more, but just like surface level, that seems off. But yeah, all right. I'm excited for Vera, and Sandhagen will be a good card, and I'll talk to you next week, Gugabe.
Yep, gotcha. Thanks for listening.